Greetings, listeners. I hope you're comfortable with the lights turned down low. In a world full of questions, the unknown frequently rears its ugly head. At any time, any of us can face the unexpected, the supernatural, the unknown. Join me now as we journey through the fringes of horror. I am your host, Random British Dude, and it is now time for the Random Horror Theatre. We join two friends as they rush to get out of the rain. Jason and Gavin clung together under a shared umbrella. A downpour had started out of nowhere, and just before Jason was about to grumble at Gavin for forgetting his umbrella, he was interrupted by a cry of jubilation from his friend. "Look, there's a shop just there. Let's go and take shelter." They rushed for the entrance. The rain somehow started down even more heavier than before, and this caused them to burst through the door in a half-panicked, unceremonious way, almost tripping over each other. They wiped the rain from their face and attempted to catch their breath. After settling down and hanging their coats up on a coat stand near the door, they both glanced round at the hoard of items before them. Various oddities hung from the ceiling, and an old taste of dust clung thickly to the air. It was not entirely unpleasant, however, as the musky smell of fresh polish assaulted their senses. "Hello? Anybody home?" croaked Jason, almost scared to break the silence. No reply came. The gentlemen busied themselves, looking at various ornate items, old chests of drawers, wardrobes, and many things they have never heard of. As they was about to feel like they was outstaying their welcome, something strange occurred. At first it was only slight, but the room around them began to vibrate. Before long, however, everything shook violently. Jason and Gavin screamed and they both ducked under the counter for protection. "It must be an earthquake!" Jason yelled over the horrendous noise produced by the now very violent tremors. Chandeliers were rocking, items began to tumble off shelves and counters and crash upon the floor, and then, as soon as it had all begun, complete calm and silence. After a few minutes of shock and intense waiting, it was Jason that popped his head from over the counter. The shop was in a complete mess, as was expected. Gavin popped up a moment after and pointed to the window and said, "If the day could not get any stranger, look out the window. The heavy rain has turned into a thick fog." They both stepped carefully over the objects strewn across the floor and made their way carefully to the window. Try as they might, they could not distinguish anything out beyond the fog. Jason made a move towards the door and Gavin grabbed his wrist. "I would not do that if I were you. The brickwork could have become loose in the earthquake," he said with a very worried look on his face. "I will be really careful, Gavin," Jason said in a soft voice. Jason pulled open the door and the bell tinkled politely above. After 10 minutes had passed, Gavin became very concerned. He too walked to the door and stepped outside. The fog was unbelievably thick and he cried out to his friend, "Jason! Jason!" No reply came. Gavin got a good idea and rushed back inside the shop. After a quick search, he found himself a ball of wool and went back outside. Tying a good knot to the door handle, Gavin began to unwind the wool as he stepped out into the fog. After maybe 5 or 6 paces, Gavin saw a dark shape out in the fog. He yelled for his friend again. "Jason! Jason!" The dark shape moved towards him, and after a few seconds, he could make out the figure of a respectable man with a bowler hat. The man tipped his hat in a polite gesture and said, "Hello, good sir. I'm terribly sorry to disturb you, but you see, I'm a little lost. My name is Mr. Hudson, and I've been trying to get home for, well, I don't know how long." Suddenly, a blank expression fell across Mr. Hudson's face, and without warning, he turned around and started to walk away. At that exact moment, the ground began to shake again. Gavin dropped to the ground and held his hands over his head. The same amount of time had passed before the tremor had passed again. Standing up and brushing himself down, he moved to pull the string of the wall taut to trace his way back. But it never did. He looked down in horror as he held the end of the wall in his hands. He was about to panic and yell out for his friend's name again when his mind suddenly began to melt away and become foggy as the air around him. Gavin turned around and slowly shambled into the fog. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that will teach them to seek shelter in a strange place. Next time it rains, I hope that you bring your umbrella with you. Thank you very much for listening to me. I hope you have had a wonderful time and enjoyed the story. And I'll see you next time for some more random horror theatre. Thank you and good night.